Okay, well, let's go to Scotland then and continue with protest, and in this case, with respect to gender.
Okay, so there are many things that the Scottish people are not happy about, and they're starting to find a voice outside Parliament. Amongst the things they're not happy about, we have here Mail Online reporting that Scotland will let pupils change gender aged 4 without their parents' consent, and tells teachers not to question a child's request or to choose a new name or use a different toilet. It is, in fact, much worse than that. It's not only without the parents' consent, if the child so indicates, it's without the parents' knowledge. And what's more, a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old turning around and saying that they're actually not a boy but a girl, and putting themselves on a path for puberty blocking drugs and mutilating surgery, that, it says in this document, this guidance document, is not a well-being concern. But if you as a parent find out about this and are concerned and are questioning whether this is a good idea for your child, that is, in the eyes of the Scottish state, a well-being concern. It's profoundly wrong-headed, and people are catching on. Other people are catching on. We have here someone who used to be SNP but not anymore. She says we need the union to protect women. Well, actually, we need people to protect women, because I don't know that any of our parliaments are going to do too much, but it is worse in Scotland, and that's what she's alluding to here. She says, now wild horses wouldn't drag me to a yes tick box. So she's looked at the SNP and the administration and what they're doing to attack women, attack children, and she's saying that under this rule, independence with this team running the country would be horrendous. It would be a disaster, and she's just turning her back on it. Now, there was a protest at Holyrood on the Thursday the 12th of January. We have a still here from it. Hundreds of people, around about 500 people, turned up in a wet and blustery Thursday afternoon in January to protest outside Holyrood. It was an excellent event. There's lots of speeches. I was fortunate enough to be asked to say a few words there, and we'll be putting the speeches up on the Northern Exposure YouTube channel. I have a very short clip of the start of my speech at that event.
Ladies and gentlemen, we stand today outside an ugly building that's promoting ugly ideas from ugly sources.
I go on for some time explaining just what the ugly ideas are. Now, this was actually picked up by the excuse for a newspaper in Scotland called The National. It's actually an SNP fanzine, but it pretends to be a newspaper. And they reported what happened at the anti-gender reform protest at Holyrood. So the first mistake they made is it wasn't an anti-gender reform protest. This is people coming together across a range of issues. Sex ed, the attack on families, the attack on women's rights, women's exclusively female spaces, the nonsense of the gender reform, the forthcoming conversion ban bill, the whole cultural Marxist soup that's being flowing out of Holyrood for years. So this is a lot of people coming together, and they know why they're coming together. They're coming together to protect the society that they grew up in, to protect their women and to protect their children. This is why they're there. The National doesn't know this. It said hundreds of anti-gender reform protesters gathered outside Scottish Parliament to call on the UK government to step in and stop the Gender Recognition Reform Bill. It's about much more than that. Members of the Scottish Family Party, Unionist Club Scotland and supporters of the Glasgow Cabby, a campaigner who's previously expressed scepticism about the safety of COVID-19 vaccinations on social media, how very dare he, waved union and suffragette flags and held signs calling on Sturgeon to resign. So they then went and did some interviews with the small counter-protest, which was an LGBT counter-protest. And the National said, comedian Scott Agnew said that the anti-GR sentiment being expressed by the protesters was emblematic of where Scotland was in terms of LGBT rights. He said, quote, "We've got this strange ragtag group of anti-vaxxers, Christo-fascist religious fundamentalists, anti-abortionists and apparent supporters of women's rights all banding together." Now, I point out here, you can sense the confusion and anxiety in this attack, right? What he's actually looking at are the Scots, the Scottish people, ordinary Scottish people banding together to protect the society that they grew up in. That's what they're there for, and he doesn't know it. He said, it's a lot of angry people, and I'm not sure for certain about what it is they're angry about. The result is an increase in hate against LGBT people. That's nonsense. What he doesn't understand is that alphabet people have been used as a battering ram to destroy society, and the people who are gathering together are there to protect society. They're not introducing hate against anyone. They're protecting their children, they're protecting their daughters, their wives, their mothers, their sisters. They're protecting what they grew up in and what they considered to be home.
Indeed.
David, for me, the other interesting thing about this is the fact that they've used the quote, or they're quoting comedian Scott Agnew. I don't know this person or what their form of humour is, but to me, this is another sign that they don't know how to deal with this, because why aren't they using a government minister to quote? Why aren't they using a member of the local council to quote? Why is it they've got to go to a comedian? Did they not have anybody else who was brave enough to stand up and say something?
Well, apparently not. I mean, the comedian said, his final line on that, this is the most divisive thing you could possibly do when you actually try to stop the operation of a working parliament. Now, no one was trying to do anything. It was just a peaceful protest, 0 arrests, entirely peaceful, outside of parliament. That's what we're meant to do to get our grievances addressed. So you see that he's viewing everything in a kind of hyperbolic terminology. It's all, they're actually shutting down Parliament. They're going to suppress freedom. They're going to, be Christo-fascist religious fundamentalists, right? He's imagining all sorts of things, but it's all in his head. None of it's true. And he doesn't actually understand what the majority of the nation are feeling. And neither does the government, and neither do they care. But I think they are concerned, and I think this idea about shutting down Parliament indicates a sense of anxiety on the part of those pushing this agenda, that they realise they've been rumbled and they're not sure how to respond, because they don't have the ability to win the argument. They just have the ability to bully and force their way to a conclusion they want. If it actually comes down to debating the issues, they're in serious trouble.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, David. Okay, if you like what the UK Column does, you would like to support us, please head over to community.ukcolumn.org. There are options to help us out there, or you could pick something up at the UK Column shop, but please do share material on the various platforms. Now, we just want to say well done to all the presenters and everybody concerned for the Education Not Indoctrination event yesterday. It was it went very well.
It was powerful and emotional in places.
Videos from that, individual presentations, will be going up on the UK Column website in the coming days. David, any just quick comments on it?
Well, I thought it was a fantastic event. I mean, there was a lot of variety in the speakers. There was many different viewpoints, and that really gave it a rounded approach to the subject matter that we couldn't have got in any other manner. So I was delighted with the way it went. I thought the speakers were excellent. And I know the audience reaction was extremely positive, and I hope that people who didn't manage to watch it live will pick these up. We'll be putting these various talks out as individual videos so they can be watched and rewatched and circulated. And we hope people will do all of those.
Yeah, okay. Quick advertisement for Fornethy.
So the Fornethy conference is on Sunday the 22nd of January. That's for the Fornethy ladies who attended that school, which was run by Glasgow Corporation. Many interesting things for that. The next slide gives a quick agenda there. You'll see that we have, amongst other things, we have a talk on all the research that we've done on this subject, which is a fascinating story. We've got John Halley, an advocate who was part of the child sexual abuse inquiry, and he'll be speaking about how he interacted with the state and the corruption that he encountered. And we'll be hearing many things from the Fornethy ladies themselves. And this is going to be an excellent event. It's for people who have been associated with Fornethy. The next day, we've got on the 23rd, on Monday, we've got a general UK column meetup, once again at the Glo Centre in Motherwell. Brian is going to be speaking at that, as is Bruce Scott and Richard Lucas. And I'll maybe say a few words in between times. So that will be an excellent event. That starts the doors open at 6:30. The event starts at 7 on Monday the 23rd.
And finally,
there's a rally in Glasgow on Saturday, 21st of January, 1 p.m, Glasgow Green at the Commonwealth Monument. That's where it departs from. And with a bit of luck, Brian and I will go along.
Okay.
Transport allowing.
Yes.